Welcome to the United We Scan podcast, the podcast by rural carriers for rural carriers. The views expressed in this podcast are of the presenters and the presenters only and do not represent the views, opinions, or strategies of the United States Postal Service or the National Rural Letter Carriers Association. We ask that you please consult your assigned union representative for guidance in your local area. Please like this podcast, share with your fellow rural carriers, and subscribe to be notified each time a new episode is uploaded. Please leave a comment or question for us below. Thank you. Now, here are the hosts of the United We Scan podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. Episode 110. I am back this week. Yes, I am feeling better. And so we're going to go over MiniMail survey stuff tonight. So there's
Hold on.
Yeah.
What's the title?
Oh, that one says Go Birds, but we're...
yes, thank you. Thank you very much.
The episode for the listeners is MiniMail survey.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, Bill. And yes, we're recording on Saturday instead of Sunday because Bill will be glued to the TV for the Super Bowl tomorrow night.
And I want to thank you for everybody's difference of scheduling here. I greatly appreciate it.
Super Bowl tomorrow, even our audience members that listen to us live, so it's important for us to, make concessions for things like that so people can go and enjoy that instead of listening to us talk all night.
As a fine fender and do things.
You'll have to excuse him. He's a cheesehead.
Yeah, we know he's a cheesehead.
Yeah.
From Wisconsin. That's okay. We respect that he supports his team.
I've been to Lambeau. It's nice.
Mm-hmm.
Mid-state.
I like how the neighbors let you park on their lawn for $50.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, James, how was your week?
It was a standard week. We had a couple box holders this week, so that's going to help with my evaluation a little bit since package volume is down. I think Monday and Tuesday I had over 100 packages, which I know a lot of routes get more than that, but my route is measured at 80 parcels. So being over that was good. The rest of the week I was under that. So having the two box holders did help with coverage factor and my total volume on the route, number of stops that I make and mail volume, so on and so forth. So I think it was a pretty good week, other than ice and snow. One of my streets is no longer getting delivery currently. They're on hold for the weather. They get this once in a great while when their street becomes completely ice covered and the LLV can't make it up there. So it's standard practice on this route for the road not to be delivered if it's ice covered to the point where the LLV can't get up it. But other than that, pretty normal week for me. How was your week, Bill?
Oh, mine was pretty good. And your state doesn't allow chains, does it?
No.
No.
Okay. Yeah, it's my week was good. Had some interactions with our office. Again, we're having a lot of carriers being forced to help on vacant routes, and the local steward is oblivious to the situation, doesn't want to be involved, whereas I would pay attention to what's going on the entire floor. This one just hides in their case so they don't have to get involved. And we have the mention of the MOU not being extended, which we can discuss later on, but folks, let me tell you, that is going to be a shitstorm for all. My biggest concern in regards to this whole thing is in regards to the MOU expiring on the 22nd, I believe. And what's what the immediate future is going to foretell in regards to carriers being forced, as in my office is. So, other than that, I mean, we're going to look for another house tomorrow, and the Eagles are playing in the Super Bowl tomorrow, and I'm just so excited. I'm all hyped up. I really am. I mean, I in 2018 we won the Super Bowl, and it's I said I can die now because I seen the Eagles win the Super Bowl. And my wife came downstairs, and I'm sitting there crying, drinking my Crown Royal Limited, and she's like, "Are you crying?" She doesn't understand sports, and she's been disavowed of the Eagles since 2004 and the Philadelphia Phillies since '93. So I grew up a hardcore Eagle fan, and I'm so looking forward to tomorrow. So are we going to get Malkov? No, Malkov's not going to speak on here. So, Kristen, how was your week? Because we know you were a little bit under the weather to start.
Yeah, Saturday and Sunday were rough for me. I pretty much slept all day, every day. That was about it. It really wasn't. I had a headache, maybe a little bit of a fever, but I pretty much just slept. So went back to, went to work Monday and toughed it out. It was a rough start to Monday, but oh well, it is what it is. Light week for the most part this week. I had one WSS, but other than that, it's been a fairly light week. And I had to work today, but I was done by and home by 2:30 as the snow was just starting. So thankfully I got home before the weather got too bad. But other than that,
It's funny you say you had a light day because my carrier yesterday, I saw him. And he goes, "Oh my God!" He says, I have 120 packages today."
mm,
His body is still next to the cluster box unit out front. 120. I'm like, oh my God, that would be like a holiday to me. To have 120 packages.
yeah, I
But
was Monday was I think I had 186 scans Monday, but 22 of those were certified because people don't want to pay their property taxes and title checks went out.
and do you
But
get those for the snowbirds too?
um only if they don't pay their property taxes.
Okay.
Most of my snowbirds, though, I don't think I've ever actually had one for one of my snowbirds, so they're usually pretty good about paying their stuff. But other than that, the rest of
Julio.
the week, except for Friday was 107 scans, and the rest of the week, so Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and today, I averaged between 62 and 77 scans. That's how light it was.
My God.
I know.
Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
I need that, if I have less than 100 or, 100 or less, I'm like, it's fairly late for me, but yeah,
And
it's,
I like seeing in the platforms there that people are commenting, seeing the UPS packages with the USPS barcode on there,
mm-hmm.
asking, why are they delivering our packages? No, folks, they put both barcodes on there just in case they have to hand them off. So that putting our barcode on there is not an afterthought. It's done when they print the entire label. It's just they decided not to hand them off to us. That's all. Still their package.
Yep.
Malcove, you have anything to add before we begin today?
Not really. It was a really light week for me, too. I think I actually had under 100 packages today, which was surprising.
If you take the rubber bands off those two little things downstairs, your voice will go up 6.
Yeah,
How
but it
goes?
won't feel as good.
Thank you. Kristen and James pissed themselves.
I see that.
Oh boy, I need a drink.
Here you go.
Have one for me, too, please.
Oh my, oh my. So yeah.
Oh man. Oh, can't take you
Okay.
anywhere, Bill. Can't take you anywhere.
Well, now you need to take me everywhere so that everybody understands life is real, and I come at you.
Anyway,
uh,
Moving on to this week's topic.
The
Bill, you
MiniMail
had,
Something else
surveys.
Bill, you had something you said you wanted to discuss.
Yes. This is a ethical dilemma for you, everybody to consider. Okay, this is not just for myself. This is for everybody listening and the host. And this walks what I'll say is a fine line in ethics in regards to your responsibilities as a steward, as your responsibilities of a union member. Okay. On a minor part as a carrier, okay. In a certain office, okay, my office as an example, there's 18 full rural carriers, okay, routes. The situation is based on the fact that, and they had 2 vacant routes today. One route is a consistent call out on Saturdays. Now they don't have Saturday drop days, but more than infrequently, they call out on Saturdays. They will often use the excuse of nobody watching their child. The individual is involved and lives with a partner in which they have this child. But because of certain allowances, okay, and I'll put it along the lines of trying to be delicate. Oh, he's black. That's not delicate enough. It never gets called up for I&Is for attendance. Now, as a steward, if I was still a steward in the office and I had somebody else called up on an I&I, PDI, whatever you want to call it, in regards to attendance, then I would feel compelled to bring up this individual's history and not being, called up on I&Is, PDIs, whatever, while you're calling this individual up for a PDI, I&I, for the first time in 6 months. Now, the problem is we also had a young lady in the same office, our office, that was consistently getting 1 to 2 days a week off for various reasons. And one time she actually flipped out during a PDI, and I'll call them PDIs because that's what I'm more comfortable you saying they're PDIs. But, she called on the PDI and she flipped out on the supervisor. Now, the problem of it was that this went on for 4 months prior to the PDI. They called her up on it. She flipped out, and there's a mitigating circumstances with her being, oh God, let's see. She was married, had a child, divorced, remarried, had another child, and was taking care of her mother. Now, when it came to my attention that she was having attendance problems, I went to her privately as a concerned carrier, okay, because I like her, and told her that she needs to file for FMLA to protect herself. She didn't do. She had a PDI. Again, I brought up the FMLA, and the supervisor agreed that that would be their best avenue of protection. They didn't do it. Nothing ever became of her PDIs. As with this other individual, nothing has become of him ever having a PDI. Yet you have another carrier once in 6 months, and they pull him up with an attendance review. Now, the ethical thing to me is, do I bring up the fact that 2 individuals you haven't prosecuted in regards to the PDIs and the follow-through discipline are of non-Caucasian backgrounds. And the one you're pulling up on the INI for once in 6 months is Caucasian. I find myself torn on this because of the fact that you are, yes, disparate treatment because of race. And yet, the one individual I tried to help, the supervisor tried to help, and yet you're going after this individual for missing 1 day in 6 months. How do you justify disciplinary procedures for management versus what I would say is obvious racism? And trust me, be as racist as the next person, but then again, if you were to insult Roy Kelly, who's a personal friend of mine, find out that I would lay your ass out for somebody you didn't know was a black man, because I never talked about Roy Kelly being a black man. That's how I view people, life in general. I don't define you by your color unless you do. So I'm looking for input from everybody, anybody, even in the chat group, in regards to how do you handle this situation, because of the fact that it just can't go on anymore. Years ago, we had a guy who was a preferential carrier. He had every supervisor, postmaster's ass in his hands. His truck broke down. So they gave him an LLV. He didn't like an LLV, so he took the LLV off of RD16 because she was out for rotator cuff surgery. When she came back, the LLV got reverted back to his route, and he turned around and pushed it over to a route where a sub had a hold down with an FFV. This went on for almost 8 months. Again, preferential treatment based on race. And I don't like using that work for that, but I mean, folks, you can't be any more obvious than what it was. So help me understand, or give me your reasoning in regards to how to handle this ethically.
That's a tough one because
Like people in the, I would say, like people in the chat said, disparity treatment. I would also have the carrier file an EEO for them.
But the problem with the EEO is in many offices, and you all know this, okay? People don't want to push back against the system in case there's retribution coming down the line. And the fact of the matter, even though they had me as a steward in office and I stood up to Jesus Christ to fight for them, they still worried about retribution. The same way a new sub worries about filing a grievance within 90 days. The same way they're pulling subs off of Phoenixville in the SDNC and making them work in Westchester with no training whatsoever because they're afraid of filing agreements within 90 days. Same way our local steward keeps his head buried in his case, because if he says he doesn't know anything about it, then he doesn't have to prosecute that grievance. I mean, the ethics department, the post office, give me a fucking break. The ethics they have is to push until either you cave or you quit. Of course, out of the three of us here, I'm not sure about Malco, we would never cave and we would never quit. We'd punch him right in the fucking mouth. And leave that in. Don't cut that. Right, Just Shots. They do have to grow a pair. Please, give us thoughts. I mean, you know, this is as troublesome to me as carriers who sit there and say, "Oh, I'm just a carrier. I can't do anything. That's what they depend on.
Mhm.
They count on the fact that you feel the hopelessness of the situation and that it won't go anywhere. That's why we're losing the battle. That's why our national board doesn't fight for you, because you don't demand that of them. I mean, you can't tell me they don't know about all this. We have a local meeting on Wednesday afternoon here for my local. And they're bringing over an NSS employee from New Jersey because they have nobody in this area. Why? Because our DR is out of New York. Our ADR was just removed. The other ADR has previous engagements. You can tell me you don't have a local steward or an area steward that could come to our meeting? You don't have to say anything. You just have to attend. But we're going to pay an ADR to come out of New Jersey all the way over into Pennsylvania and maybe even stay overnight just to attend the local meeting. Oh, our NRO coming up here? I don't think so. NROs don't go to local meetings unless it's next to their house. Go ahead. I mean, I appreciate everybody listening to me, but this is the type of situation that really goes to the basis of the problems in our union in regards to disparity of treatment, in the fact that management violates the contract in the way that we treat each other, and never mind the fact you call out all the time for whatever reason. Okay, I've had a situation where she had an employee where she addressed it on this past Monday about her attendance. Gave her 6 months, and the lady said, I won't make any problems, no excuses for the next 6 months. Thursday, my wife let her go because at 10:30 in the morning, she's calling up with excuses.
Mhm.
Now, does that help my wife out? No, she's already 3 employees short. This lady was a good worker when she attended, but the problem of it is that if you let her stay, everybody else sees what she can get away with. Just like in the post office, if you let these carriers get away with it, okay, they're going to try it. That's why this guy calls out Saturdays, because he knows he won't be called up on it because of his race. The same way the woman who hasn't filed for the FMLA as recommended by the steward, me, and by the supervisor has not been disciplined because of race. There is no race in the post office. You're blue or you're not.
Go ahead,
I'm
Kristen.
such
I
an
want you,
asshole, all
I can
right?
see your wheels running in your head, Kristen.
Well, we don't have the racism issue in my office per se, but we have a sexism issue, gender issue.
It's the same thing though. It's just a
Same
different
thing.
category. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I mean, if you have genitalia between your legs that makes you male, you get treated completely different than the females in the office. And it's been that way since we've had our current management regime, and that includes the former supervisor, who's now the postmaster. It goes back there that far to when the postmaster was a supervisor. But no, I see it, and it is the same thing. And when you let them, and that's the other thing too, and I see it quite a bit, is when you let them walk all over you and let them control you, and you don't do anything to stand up for yourself, there's nothing, you know, that things can be done. I mean, if you're not willing to stand up for yourself, how can a local steward at that point then assist you with remedying the issue if you're not willing to step up and say, hey?
Exactly. They don't make the paper trail, then nothing can get fixed. I know you said EEOs aren't worth crap, but it puts it on paper.
You know, and it's one of those things that, like somebody said in our chat, it's a cancer. And when
Yeah,
you let
exactly.
one person get away with this stuff, you eventually spread it to another person.
Mhm.
It's a plague. It's a disease. Just like hostile management. Just like carriers who are scared to file grievances because they see somebody get beaten up by management with retaliation over grievances. The problem is we have a system in place that is supposed to protect the carriers, that is supposed to stand up for the carriers, supposed to protect them from management and protect them from disparate treatment, which is the case here. We have laws on the books against treating people over race, sex, creed, all that stuff. And yet we have management violating that very law. And we have management who, if you file for them doing that, will retaliate against you for it. And it's one of those things that, as a board nationally, we should be going after hostile management because everybody deserves to be treated exactly the same with dignity, fairness, and respect. And when you
Whether
turn
you
around,
like them or not. Whether you like them or not, James.
whether you like them or not, you have to treat them with dignity, fairness, and respect. Because I don't care if you like me or hate me or whatever, I'm going to treat you with dignity, fairness, and respect. May I turn around and call people out for things? Yes, just like people call me out for things. I have absolutely no problem for it. And when they turn around and turn one of my corrections, or lack thereof, as they call it, it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. Because if you do make it, then they say, oh, he's making corrections, so he's trying to hide it, and stuff like that. It's the same with management. They're going to try and hide and bury what they're doing in some other legal ease that they can find within the contract and confines of all our MOUs, manuals, and especially the RCAM. And so we have to protect ourselves as carriers. Carriers need to protect themselves because the only person you can rely on to protect yourself is yourself. And if you can bury management and paperwork while doing it, that's the best way to do it. Because the only way you're going to get management to change their ways is when it starts actually costing them. When it starts causing problems, when their management starts coming down on them. Why are you having so many grievances? Maybe we need to move you. You know, that's an expense for some postmasters, especially if the office they're in is close to where they live, and then they have to move them to an office that is not close to where they live. That's a punishment for management. But getting
But
management to give that punishment is the hardest part.
James, I mean, Westchester settled $400,000 grievances for the city carriers. Chicago settled over $1 million in grievances for city carriers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's almost like they don't give a shit. So why should I?
And that is something that definitely our national boards for the city carriers and the rural carriers and the mail handlers and the APWU all need to sit down with national management and say, hey, look, you want to get rid of your negatives, especially on your budgets? Here's your first clue to fixing that problem. Now, I do recall DeJoy saying that he wants to get respect for the carriers in the Postal Service again. It was a way back in one of his interviews, but he said he wants to get the respect back to the letter carriers. And we need to hold him to that. And we need to get him and everybody below him, especially Doug Tolino, the Deputy Postmaster General, and everybody else, to finally realize that the only people that actually make this industry money are the clerks, the city carriers, and the rural carriers, and your contractors. The people who actually pick up and deliver the products that we sell and transport. The mail handlers help us move the product. Without those crafts, and janitors cleaning the offices, keeping them from being OSHA hazards, the people at the bottom are the only reason the Postal Service exists. But treating them with dignity, fairness, and respect is the first step. Just a step.
And then I'd like to respond to that and follow up in regards to the people responsible for profits. Okay. We are the bottom of the ladder. We are the ones who deliver the product. We are the ones who have the interaction with the customers and everything. The people who are on social media sitting there saying that we had $107 billion bailout because they rescinded pre-funding of carriers' health care and retirement benefits 75 years into the future. That is not a bailout, you dumbass. It was a righting of a wrong where Congress was trying to steal from the post office. But the fact of the matter is, we're still losing money. Let me tell you something, folks. We could make money in 30 days with little effort, okay? First of all, let's get rid of the SD&Cs that aren't working. Personal experience from Westchester SD&C. And the fact that you're trying to turn around and take 3 other offices to put it in our former location, you guys are idiots. If you're on a permanent forward, it's $20. If you're on a temporary forward, it's $10. If you're on a hold, it's $10. If you're getting 20 boxes for free, it's no longer free. It's $2 a box. You can go to the post office, buy the same damn box, a single box, for $6, but yet I'll send you 25 for free. How stupid can you be? You could turn this entire organization around in 30 days.
Mhm.
And one of the first things I would do was turn around and fire John Harrison as the district manager in our SDC, because nobody likes going to forced labor work camps that he has turned that SD&C into. Yeah, 75% of management, you probably could cut 75% out and not miss a blink.
Mm-hmm.
You can't process the mail quick enough, I can get you more clerks. I can get you more mail handlers. We can get the parcels done. My current office cannot get their parcels before 10 a.m. because they're busy running everybody else's. Yet, my office, Westchester, aka the SD&C, has the furthest to go to deliver their mail. How the hell does that make sense? Abacus, trigonometry calculator, I don't care what you use. How the fuck does that make sense? I don't know. Yeah, they're simple questions. They require simple answers, but nobody has them.
I tried to get
Go
an
ahead, Chris.
answer in Grand Rapids on the S&DCs and why they're paying more money to run all these postal vehicles out to these offices and delivery routes than it would have cost to send a single truck to several offices every day. But he wouldn't answer it. So, but anyway, moving to our actual topic of the week, the MiniMail survey actually starts today, the day we're recording this, which is the 8th of February, 2025. And it starts with the measuring of your route distances in your office. Right, Kristen?
All right. So, not as to confuse people by saying it starts today. The actual MiniMail survey, I am going to go over the important dates first.
Yes, please.
The important dates. So between 2/8 and 3/14 is where the delivery units enter office walk, route settings, and daily volume data into the RMSS system web application. On February 22nd, the 12-day mini-mail survey of stated items begins on all rural routes. The 22nd through March 7th is the data entry must be made daily by close of business day for all routes. On March 7th, DPM and LTM mapping deadline date. No mapping changes will be reflected past this date in Evaluation 5. So all your mapping, your February mapping, let's put it that way, with all your edits, your edit book, your February mapping needs to be completed no later than 3/7 for it to count towards the evaluation that comes out of this mini-mail survey. 3/14, all mini-mail survey entries to include office walk distance, route settings, daily volume must be finalized by 1700 Central Time. No additional changes will be accepted past that date. 3/29 is when the 4241As and Ms will be available, and the new evaluations will be effective as of 4/5. So those are the dates.
I just wanted to add, during the actual mini mail survey, as Kristen stated, they're supposed to enter your entries every day. They're supposed to give you your slip back by end of day or first thing the next morning with that day's numbers. So you can verify and try and dispute and get it corrected.
So yes, the mini-mail survey will be conducted for 12 working days, beginning Saturday, February 22nd, and ending on Friday, March 7th. You're supposed to get a stand-up talk given prior to the mail survey. All routes are included in the mini-mail survey, even those routes that have been cut and are affected to be on that 1-year stay. You're still going to participate in the mini-mail survey.
There's a reason why, and the reason why is so that way it never gets forgotten once the 52 weeks are up.
EAS employees will conduct the mini-mail survey, so that is management. They are the ones conducting the mini-mail survey. There is 12 Rex office walk distances that will be measured around trip jointly by manager and the assigned carrier. Data will be entered daily and in a timely manner, no later than close of business day of the current business day. Only the following items will be measured and or counted and entered into RMSS: random letters, random flats, office walk distances, and any miscellaneous office activity. PARS labels are no longer included in the mini-mail survey. Those under that MOU that came out at the end of January are now going to be on the 52-week, which is what it was actually intended to be to begin with. And then the technology wasn't supposedly there, and so then it was counted during mini-mail survey. And now supposedly the technology is there, so now it's going to be auto-counted over the 52 weeks. Which, for some of you that have routes like mine, is a good thing, because during the mini-mail surveys, I don't get hardly any PARS labels at all, because that's in between my people coming and going.
Yeah, it's amazing that our mini-mail surveys always seem to end up in between the snowbirds.
Yeah,
Either coming or going.
So did mail counts.
Yeah. So hopefully the system works right in counting these PARS labels for us. Because I did, like I said in a previous episode, I did ask the question on what PARS labels were accepted, and they said all of them. So that would include the add, modifies, and deletes are supposedly counted by this. But keep track of them yourself. I know we're behind the 8 ball because they didn't tell us this 52 weeks back so we could keep track for 52 weeks, but we start now.
All right, I did have a special request just about miscellaneous activity. So I'm going to go over the miscellaneous activity real quick. This is off of the worksheet that you can get on the website. Required activity, required customer communications. Time, if required by management to answer customer questions across the counter or over the phone if such duties occur daily or weekly. That is what would be counted for miscellaneous, as well as electronic parcel lockers. So those that have Amazon lockers on your route and anything that's electronic locker-wise. Record actual time used daily to service the electronic parcel lockers. Actual time begins once all parcels are located at the EPL and carrier signs in on the keypad and continues until the carrier signs out on the keypad. If the carrier is required to wait to gain access to the keypad, that time is also recorded as actual time. Reloading satchel. Actual time to reload a satchel if required for multiple dismount deliveries. Non-personnel unit time. Non-personnel units are small non-staff stations or branches that are serviced by a rural carrier in a location typically provided by a contractor. A non-personnel unit provides essential mail services on a self-service basis, such as the collection and delivery of mail and the sale of stamps. Rural carriers are required to remain at MPU for a minimum of 15 minutes each day. Extra time dismount. Additional time associated with accessing delivery point at an authorized dismount, such as a key keeper, security guard, gate check-in, or access code entry. So this would be, and that would include, this one was specifically mentioned, was the hockey puck locks, which I personally have never seen, but some offices have them, that you have to unlock those first and then use your arrow key. I know I have ran a route in the past where I had unlocked a little key keeper with the arrow key to then unlock the door to give me access to the units inside. So that additional thing that you would be doing that you have to unlock prior to getting entry would be included under miscellaneous time. And then anything that is approved by district outside of that or an explanation must be entered that you would keep track of time on. I know we had a hardship at the time that they kept the gate at the end of their driveway closed to keep the bears out. District did approve that. to have that time counted that you'd have to go to open the gate and close the gate to gain entry.
I had a
If you go
carrier
to a
talk
business, I'm going to say other things would be if you go to a business and have to ring the doorbell and wait for them to answer
that's like a
on a
school.
daily basis.
Yes, schools too. You know, you have to budget, get plugged in.
That falls in under the extra time under dismount.
Yeah, and
Elevators.
I do want to bring
ride
up
the elevator up.
Yeah, that would also
Or
be under
taken
the
down.
the extra time under dismount.
Yes.
under dismount. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do.
If you deliver to apartments 30 stories up, you don't get that time except for the linear travel on the stairwell. How the fuck do you actually justify that?
I know.
I mean, it's like you haven't carried a route for 20 years, Kristen.
I know.
That's right. They haven't. I'm sorry.
I have a few condo and apartment complexes that like to order their packages, and they all happen to live on the second floor or so. And yeah, so I just look at those days of, well, I'm getting my stair steps in.
Yep. And I did want to bring up a couple of things. The first one is I have a carrier I talked to who got credit for a train. And the reason why they got the credit is because they're right next to a rail yard
Mm-hmm.
and they would get stuck with a switching train almost every single day on that route
God. Oh my
Yep.
God.
That
for
would be something
10
that would
to
be
20 minutes. Yep.
Yeah.
And that would be a
hmm
miscellaneous that districts should approve because you're constantly waiting there and they should see your stationary event. But the other thing I wanted to bring up about satchels, part of your time on the satchels, we have two step fours listed in the steward reference guide on the union website that specifically state that carriers who are instructed to carry a satchel, whether it is just for dog protections or if you are carrying a satchel for CBU delivery, will be given credit in column R, which is miscellaneous time under the mail count, which would translate over to miscellaneous time in the MiniMail survey, for the time required to pick up the satchel in the vehicle, place it on your shoulder, remove it from your shoulder, and return it to its place in the vehicle if these activities occur on a daily or weekly basis. So that is, and unless an unusual exists or a special trip must be made in the office to obtain and return the satchel, no additional credit would be warranted. So in that instance, getting your satchel should be on load time under my opinion only, and you get credit in your end of shift duties automatically with return to DU time to put that satchel where it belongs before you go home. You guys agree with that? If you don't agree with
Yeah.
it,
Yeah. I mean, do you leave a satchel with the vehicle? Turn it to the original equipment area? I mean,
you're supposed to keep the vehicle empty at the end of the day.
yeah, exactly. And how many carriers do that, James?
including Cityside. How many carriers do that,
Yes.
James?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying that's what the black and white
That's what
says.
that's what the
Mhm.
black and white says. You're correct.
Mm-hmm.
But black and white versus actuality. eh. My girl got her mattress was pulled up for service today. The parcels were run late. They didn't get them till 10 a.m. And she had two box holders and had already volunteered to help on one of the vacant routes. So her vehicle wasn't ready. The equipment in her vehicle, like the scanner holders and everything that she has set up in her vehicle, weren't available to her. And the supervisor said, "Well, you need to take these two box holders out." Do you want me to take the box holders out? Do you want me to help on RD12? Eh, turn into easy answer. Help on RD12, leave the box holders. And I said to her, on the down low, should have put a box holder in for today, put a box holder in for Monday. Carrier discretion. But the fact of the matter is that you need the credit. This is the same carrier who got her DPS numbers back on the radar report, reporting 0 and only 6% coverage factor or 8% coverage factor, which we all know will affect your paycheck. So, I mean,
Bill,
you have to play the game, but we're held to a more rigid standard than management is.
I say, keep in mind, if they are doing what they're supposed to with the vehicle and emptying it with the satchel, they're going to get credit during load time and end of shift duties to take it out and put it back in the next day.
Back
Okay.
in your court, Kristen.
We're going to move on to the office walking distance. I know we briefly went over this a couple episodes ago, but we're going to go over it again according to what the data collection form says.
Yes. Not what management told me.
Walking distance segments. Measure the round trip distance footage required for the carrier to complete the segment where applicable. Office walking distances only applies to activities performed in the AM while the carrier is in the office prior to departing to the street for delivery. Activities performed in the PM after carrier returns to office from delivery are included in the end of shift duties. Number 1, scanner storage area. This is where you're measuring from to the carrier's case. From the point where the carrier stands when retrieving the scanner to the point where the carrier stands when casing mail.
I'll explain that. You literally are you're getting your scanner to clock in and then go to your case to start working. That is why you measure it that way.
Mm-hmm. Number 2, carrier's case is where we're starting from, and we're going to the raw letter or raw flats distribution case. From the point where the carrier stands when casing mail to the point where the carrier stands when retrieving raw letters or raw flats, whichever is further, include walking distance to obtain a conveyance if typically required. And this is for withdrawal routes only. So if you do not have a withdrawal office and clerks bring everything to you mail-wise, you do not have to do that one. The third one is DPS letters distribution rack. From the point where the carrier stands when casing mail to the point where the carrier normally stands when retrieving the first tray from the DPS letter rack, include walking distance to obtain a conveyance if typically required. Withdrawal routes only. Again, if the clerks bring you everything and you are not a withdrawal office, you do not have to do those 2 walking distances. All right, number 4 is not applicable now. Number 5, we're going to start the carrier's case and go to the parcel hamper retrieval. From the point where the carrier stands when casing mail to the location where the carrier normally stands when grasping the handle of the parcel hamper for transport to their case. Assigned, and then the next one, assigned location or typical location for inspection of government vehicle. From the point where the carrier stands when casing mail to the point where the carrier stands when opening the driver's door of the parked vehicle. Use the assigned parking if there is one, or the typical location if there is none. So you're gonna, if you have an assigned spot, that's where you're gonna go. If you don't, then it's the typical location of where your government vehicle is. If you're a POV, you don't measure this. All right, the next one is your CFS markup 3M centralized hold mail to the carrier's case. From the point where the carrier stands when casing mail and follows their normal path to the CFS, the markup case, and the 3M location, centralized hold and back to carrier's case. Note the order of locations may vary according to local practices. We don't have a centralized hold location, so that's something that we wouldn't have that additional footage for the centralized hold location, but for your CFS markup case 3M location. Accountables distribution point. From the point where the carrier stands when casing mail to the point where the carrier receives accountable mail from the clerk in the morning. Pretty self-explanatory. If you have a cart that comes around with the count on the accountable cart, then you would go to where that cart stops for you. If you have to go to a cage, then you would measure the distance from your case to the cage and back. Pretty self-explanatory for your accountable distribution point. Hot case. From the point where the carrier stands when casing mail to the point where the carrier stands when retrieving hot case mail. Note, not applicable if performed in conjunction with load time. So if your office is one of those that goes to the hot case while you're under load time, then you don't get the walking distance. Location to obtain additional pieces of empty equipment, rolling stock prior to loading vehicle. From the point where the carrier stands when casing mail to the average point location to obtain an additional piece of empty equipment, rolling stock, prior to loading vehicle. Note, this only applies if the additional piece of equipment is required for loading. And number 11, storage location for excess trays and tubs. From the point where the carrier stands when casing mail to the location where excess trays, tubs are stored after mail has been loaded for conveyance to the vehicle. And the last one, location of where the safety service talk is given. From the point where the carrier stands when casing mail to the designated safety service talk area and back, of course. Those are your in-office walk distances.
And I will issue the correction here. When I talked about walking around the truck to go to the front door, the door you unlock, that is because all the managers that I have had in my office said that is what we do to get the best credit for that distance. And they actually walked with us all the way around the vehicle and said that's right. So that is why I made that statement. It was an error on my part from training from management.
Bad boy.
I know.
Bad
Management
boy,
was
bad
supposed to
boy.
train
What
us
you
on
gonna
this stuff.
do? What you gonna
Management
do
was
when they
supposed to
come
train
for
us on this
you?
stuff, and credits are supposed to be in the favor of the carrier.
James, don't make me come out there and smack the stupid shit out of you for management training you. They are idiots, okay?
Yeah.
Fuck they know about training. Come on now.
Would you wait, Bill, let me ask you this. Would you rather management give you extra credit, or would you rather them fight you over every credit?
Oh, I fight them on everything. I love fighting.
Yes, but
Come on now. Come on.
if they're giving
James, it's
you
me.
extra credit, if they're giving you extra credit with no argument, would you argue with extra credit?
If it was unjustified, yes. Yes. I don't want anything that I'm not entitled to per the contract. Okay? Because they can't. When my route got adjusted 8 years ago, an RCA turned around and gave them the line of travel, which had me backtracking 5 miles. I turned around and corrected it. And they said, well, why do you want to do it this way? I said, well, A, it's more efficient. Okay. I'm not backtracking all. Second of all, I said, it saves the post office money. I said, third of all, you can't come back to me and say, I'm not delivering it in this fashion because I know it's inefficient. Fourth of all, you can't come back and ask me for money back. I'm not doing anything I can't justify as being efficient, legal, within the terms of the agreement that we have in doing our route professionally, efficiently, competently, just because you were stupid enough to listen to an RCA. Who knows my route better, James?
Oh, Bill, on that, you're saying that if you were overpaid, you didn't want to get a letter of demand, but even if management errs in carrier's favor, you'd agree to them giving a letter of demand?
No, I would agree that I'm not going to be subject to a letter of demand because of your incompetence. Okay? And if you are going to be unethical, it's on you.
Interesting.
Just because they feel that they have the ability, the right, the justification to fuck you over, doesn't give you the same reciprocal rights. Screw them over.
No argument
We
here.
have to be better than them.
Right.
Because in the long run, when it comes back down to it, okay, you're the one's going to pay for it, not them.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And our carriers are paying for it. Our carriers are paying with that MOU.
Exactly.
And it was just management's error.
I go to bed every night with a clear conscience of the things I've done in the past. And ladies and gentlemen, you don't want to know what I've done in my past. But I've done it for God, for country, for family, whatever. But the fact of the matter is that as long as I was employed by the post office, I did what I was paid to do. I didn't shortcut anything. I didn't skimp on service. I actually gave extra service to some customers, even though I didn't get compensated for it because of the situations of those specific customers. I performed the best service that I could possibly afford without affecting my standards, time standards, service standards, my moral standards. I don't compromise my standards for anybody or anything, period. It's just the way I was raised.
I'm going to give a little bit better explanation of what is random letters and random flats, what they include. Random letters include A, letters that have not been run on any type of automation, letters from manual distribution cases, and DPS mail errors, 3M mail. I'm trying to read this. Sorry, guys. I am blind. High rise without 3M mail, high rise without secondary addresses, CFS, RTS, UBBM, hold mail, and closed business. Your DPS letter mail errors. Note, do not include walk sequence saturation mailings or box holders. Random flats include flats that have not been run on automation, flats from manual distribution cases, and flat size mailings not received in white tubs or from local distribution cases. Do not include walk sequence saturation mailings or box holders.
Now, in light of that, Kristen, somebody please expound on me the bundled flats that you receive that are in polys that are supposed to be included in your flat count. God forbid if that's actually true. But tell me how you can prove that you're actually receiving credit for those flats in a timely fashion.
You can't.
Supposedly, they're on the radar report, and you have to keep track of every single one that you get, average it out for the 52 weeks, and make sure that you're actually getting credit for every single flat that you get, as long as it is less than 19%, I believe was the number. 19% credit give us for it.
Yep.
Yeah. But your guess is as good as the next person.
Because I've seen where, especially in your area, okay, not specifically Michigan, but in the Midwest area, they get a lot of these things that are dropped off at the dock. So how do you prove you're getting, actual credit for those?
When our local newspapers were getting dropped off at the dock, we counted ours for the MiniMail survey. Now that our local newspapers are coming from the plant, which is interesting, they're not counted.
I'm still perplexed by the fact that Ronnie Stutz, okay, and prior to Ronnie Stutz, that the engineers, the arbitrators, and everybody else agreed there would be transparency. Ronnie Stutz delayed the first MiniMail survey because of the lack of transparency from the numbers that the post office was, providing right through Don Masson's, terms. And we're not getting the transparency that was dictated by the engineers. Why aren't the carriers up in arms over this, James?
Because they probably aren't even aware of it.
But you better make sure that they are aware of it.
Yeah.
You better put that
and
out there.
that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to get the information out to the carriers, trying to get them educated, and trying to get people to realize that there is a lot more to this craft and this union than just delivering the mail. It's a lot deeper than that. It's a lot stronger than that. And carriers on the ground, boots on the ground, are the union. They are the reason this union exists and the reason this union needs to step up. If carriers want this union to make a difference, they need to use their voice. They need to step up. Look at the city carriers. 70% to 30% on their contract. That is city carriers stepping up for their craft. Our union could do the same thing. All our carriers could step up for the craft if they get educated.
Well, and this is the battle you're fighting all the time because of the fact that the complacency, I'll say the lack of faith that we have in our union because of the fact that we see so many people complaining about their local stewards or ADRs or DRs. The fact of the matter is that the management continually gets away with this horse shit. That, we have to set the example from the top. I guarantee you, like I said years ago, if I'm elected president of the NRLCA, okay, and I go out to Western States Conference, I take 2 or 3 extra days and I go to a local office, see how things are done. Or, I'm in Michigan, stop by Kristen's office, see what's going on. The amount of involvement, the amount of actual personal contact and connection with those individuals, it just escalates, 100%. Because you actually can put a face with somebody. You can actually put a concern. James Brennan, as president, would sit there and write down Kristen Wakeman's name. Okay, she's pissed off at this. Why? Let's investigate it. Let's let the director of labor relations look into it. Let's let the director of steward operations look into it. NRO, whatever. But the fact is, there is no connection between the national office and the individual carrier. And it just makes people say, I can't do nothing about it. There's nothing to be done. This is the way it is. This is the way it always will be. That's the attitude that has to change. That's mentality that has to be turned around to say, we do care. Thinking is painful. Oh my God. Only if you're in management. Nope.
I want to touch on something because that's been my biggest thing about when, being involved, even the smallest, most minute thing as simple as voting can make a difference. And this is, for example, with the city TA that recently got voted down. They had more people vote no, more members vote no than all the members combined that voted for the previous TA.
Mm-hmm.
For just the no votes. There was more no votes. More people came out and voted than in just a single vote than what you had all together for the previous one. That's what I mean by saying even that smallest thing as just voting can make a huge difference.
God, yeah. They have no idea, Kristen. They really don't. And like we put up there for the 2025 candidates, national delegate candidates. If you're not involved, if you don't pay attention to the people you're sending to the national convention, go piss in front of a hurricane. Really.
And you hear a lot of times that people saying, "Well, I don't know who these people are." Go to your local meetings. Try to go to your state booster. Those are the people that are going to be there, that are on there for the most part. Also,
Mhm.
if you can go on the NRLCA website and you can download the previous convention's proceedings. Go through that and look for the names to see, and if it's somebody that's on from your state that spoke up at the microphone, that gives you an idea of where they stand on certain things. That's another good way to really look and see who some of these people are that are running for national delegate.
And
And
that's
you can,
important, Kristen, because you can see what they're speaking on
Hmm.
and how they're speaking for or against a certain topic. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
and you can also make it easier on yourself to find the people in your state. Use the search function and find your state name. Now, sometimes it'll come up in the conversations that they're making, but most often it'll be the person's last name, delegate,
Yep.
state. So you can actually
They,
find everybody
yep.
in your state that's talked at national convention just by that fact alone. And don't forget the last national magazine also has the delegate nomination ballot in there, so people can get their name out there and run for delegate to be at national convention, to be able to use your voice and your vote to vote on resolutions, the next national board members, everything. And you could even speak on the resolutions, on the people, stuff like that. It's important to step up for your union,
Step up for yourself. Step up
yourself
for
and
your
the union.
office. You
Yep.
know, I mean, if you have an office where everybody just goes along to get along, sorry, I don't want to work there. I want an office where there is mutual respect, knowledge. There's people who are personally accountable and concerned with the contract as well as how we are treated. I mean, I grew up in the post office, at 40 years old. I grew up in an office that was basically, towing the line. And I didn't mind that because of the fact that everybody towed the line. But as we got into this micromanaging aspect of running the post office, it's funny how the whole atmosphere changed, especially because of the fact that management was equipped to actually manage the post office in the fashion that they were being dictated. The post office was ill-equipped with dealing with Amazon and the volume, COVID and the volume. And then we went to DeJoy, and now we're with SDNCs. My sub of record is a PTF now. She is the highest seniority PTF. And she cannot become a career carrier in our office because now that we are associated with the SDNC, a route will come up in Phoenixville, rural route office, that she will have to take. And the lower PTF will be able to get route in our office, per se.
Except
And
if,
right now,
except
she's thinking about
so
quitting.
if the route in Phoenixville goes up and then a route opens up in your office, guess what? She can bid on that route before the PTF moves up.
But it won't. Weeks.
2 weeks?
Yes.
Oh wait, it's going to go up for bid, and before that one's awarded, the other one's going to go up for bid.
Correct.
Why are they still running them separately?
Well, the thing of it is that I like I explained to her, once you accept the one in Phoenixville, then put in for the one in Westchester.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that you are a regular, technically, you'll get the Westchester office first.
Yep. So, all right, getting back to what's left on the mini mail survey there, Kristen.
Oh, pretty much
Kristen.
covered it. What?
You were saying with a high rise.
Yes.
I just wanted to clarify for people that that's typically apartments. So they would have 123 Main Street, apartment 102. That's what they mean, is it's missing the apartment number, which makes it an IA.
It doesn't make it an IA, but it does make it a random letter out of your DPS. It's a DPS error. But if you look at the domestic mail manual, it says for insufficient address, if you know where it goes, you are to attempt delivery.
And if you don't know where it goes, well, then it's an insufficient address.
Exactly.
I have a couple of those with names that pop up, and I'm like, well, you don't have a unit number, and I don't know your name, so you're not getting this.
Exactly.
Now, that pretty
Anything?
much covered the mini mail survey.
And you do have the right to count your random letters and random flats. Management is required to count them, but you can count them after they do to ensure the accuracy of their count. Be afraid to do it. Don't be afraid to question them. It's supposed to be an accurate count, so make sure you're holding management accountable to an accurate count.
And you do have the right to count everything behind management.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you have to remember when you get the paperwork whether or not you're going to take high or low option. If it is applicable, remember you do have to be 10 years out from computation date to accept the high option, if applicable.
As somebody said in here, you do have the right to observe the mini mail survey on your day off in an unpaid status.
Yes. Can't touch anything, you can just come in and watch.
Yes, and make sure management toggles the high option. We've had that issue in my office where they signed for high option and they didn't get high option, and it took them almost a month to get it fixed.
Yeah.
And same with withdrawal office. If you take anything out, make sure the button's checked for you to be a withdrawal office.
Yes, withdrawal offices are all or nothing for the most part. You either are a withdrawal office or you are not a withdrawal office. A withdrawal office is the one where you have to go get your mail, you get your raw flats, your raw letters, your hot case, you retrieve your DPS. A non-withdrawal office means all of that is brought to you, to your case. So make sure you know which one of your office is. If your office is one or the other, the only way that it can be changed is if there is a vote within the office amongst the carriers.
On a personal note, Fender Bender said, I need some cheese about this for, stressful conditions. I would like some prosciutto or some nice dry salamis with that. Okay. Just my personal observation. I'm telling you, there's nothing like cheese, prosciutto, and salami. Oh my God.
I have to agree with you.
And a Chardonnay too. A good Chardonnay.
And there's reasons why I'm really looking forward to Italy in October.
Oh my God. Kristen, let me tell you, you are going to come back 12 pounds heavier.
God, I hope not.
Oh, no. I'm telling.
I'm going to have to lose 20 pounds just so I can...
Well, I went the last time I went to Italy, I was 218. I came back 242.
Oh my. Well, as much walking as we're gonna do, I'm pretty sure we can walk
It
it off.
didn't matter. It didn't matter because you wouldn't walk 100 yards without running into another bistro, cafe. Oh my God. Like I said, any pasto is to them, it's like appetizers. To us, it's a meal. And they get insulted if you don't eat.
Yeah, if you don't clean your plate, they are.
Oh my God. I'm
And no
telling you.
cappuccino after 11 a.m. Do not order a
All right.
cappuccino after 11 a.m. Okay. On that note, guys, we're going to wind it down. I
I'm
will
just
let
keeping it real for
everybody
you.
know that I am making small little progress into my edit book presentation. So that is coming. I have started it. So we will hopefully be getting to that here shortly on edit books. I am in the process of finally getting that presentation done. So,
Muzzle tough.
all right. That
To
note,
your health.
James, your final words for this evening.
You know, it's that time of the year again, 2 times a year, that we have to do the mini mail survey. And we know everything is up in the air until the final numbers drop and management does their adjustments to whatever they want to adjust. But you have to remember, this is the process that we have right now. This is what we need to do to ensure that we get as much credit as possible, as accurately as possible. So keep your eye on management. Keep your eye on everything that's going on. Make sure they are fair to you. Make sure they treat you with fairness over it. It is an evolving process, and they are still working out the kinks in it. I know I still haven't heard any updates on how they're fixing parent-child routes in the rec system, but it's going to get better. We have to work through this until it gets better. And doing so means standing up for ourselves, fighting for what's right, and holding management accountable. Just remember, this is your money. These mini mail surveys are your money.
Amen.
And together, stand proud and show management we're all in this together. Malco?
Like James said, this is 2 times a year. It's only 2 weeks. It's very minimal that gets counted. Just keep up on it. Hydrate. Be safe out there. And don't get overwhelmed. Bill?
Well, I've gone off on several topics tonight. I'm very passionate about them. The fact is that I don't have to care about you. I don't have to care about the post office. I don't have to care about the union. But yet I do. I mean, my wife does not understand the level of commitment and compassion that I have for this craft. And she doesn't understand the fact that I am the white knight, okay? I am the one that comes in, save the day. I am the one to fight every battle, whether I win or lose, because of the fact that I will not back down. But the fact of the matter is that you deserve better. You are entitled to better. You've earned it. I mean, ever since COVID has come into play, ever since Amazon has come into play, you have earned every fucking nickel and dime that you have garnered through your payroll system. And the truth of it is, folks, you deserve more. I don't feel that you're going to get it with the current National Rural Letter Carriers Board. I don't even dare say that you'll get it in the next TA tentative agreement for the roll craft. I wish the best for you. I wish for everybody to be able to have a safe medical workplace environment so that you don't go in there dreading going to work. To be able to say that you have a safe, healthy environment to work in. But we know it's not true. All of you go out, do the job to the best of your ability. Be efficient, be safe. Do the job as professionally as you can. Make sure your last delivery is the most important delivery. Get yourself home to your loved ones. I'm an asshole. I'm an asshole that cares. Home to your loved ones. God bless you all. Kristen?
Thank you, guys. I mean, we really, we did get the MiniMail survey covered for the most part. And the only really big notable change that's on this next one is the difference in PARS labels. So we can't really complain about that. And other than that, everybody stay safe. I know some of us are still getting this wonderful inclement weather. Luckily, I got done today in time before it started. But, be vigilant out there, guys. Be safe. Stay hydrated. Even, yes, in the winter, it's dry air. You gotta stay hydrated. I know I go through at least 1-2 bottles of water while I'm out on the route as well. So be vigilant, stay safe, stay warm in areas that are getting cold. And everybody enjoyed the Super Bowl.
Yes. Yeah. Go Birds.
Congratulations to the winner, since this is recorded before it happens. So congratulations to the winning team.
You.
And I do believe we will return at the normal time next week, which actually is a holiday for the 17th.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Yeah, I don't have to worry about trying to get to bed super early Sunday night. So.
Yeah, and I'll be down south, so.
Oh, yeah. You've got that next one going.
Black. Yeah.
Are you saying James is going down again?
Going down.
There's your cut for cut for the night.
Safe
Good night, everybody.
Safe travels to James this week, heading to SWAC. And on that note, we'll be back next week.
Good night, everybody.
Can't make this shit up.